on to your butts. It's Wilhelm Screamfest.
Hello and welcome to another Wilhelm Screamfest. This is Wilhelm Screamfest 5. Yep, that's 5 years of me procrastinating. It's September 27th and I'm only on my second review. Yep, sounds about right. Well, today I have special guest Kyle Gerbrant, community member Mark Riley. We've connected we haven't done any podcasts together, but we always talk about movies and whatnot. So I thought, why not better than we talked about Invisible Man a little bit, like when it first came out. So why not do a full review on it?
Yeah, we played a little Friday the 13th with Mark. We played online, so we've had a little bit of a horror connection here. So I'm glad that you invited me in to talk about this movie, because this was for a long time in the year my favorite movie of the year, like hands down my favorite movie of the year. So I'm excited to talk about it and get into it.
Yeah, I didn't see it. So it came out around Valentine's
February-ish.
Day?
Yeah, it was early in the year. It was right before the pandemic hit. Like it got cut off at the knees, basically. Like it got 2 or 3 weeks in theaters. Like it was the last movie I saw in theaters, I do believe.
Yeah, I believe I didn't see it until maybe 2-3 months ago. I bought it straight on 4K Blu-ray because everyone's like, this movie's amazing. It's like, you know what? If I'm gonna buy Blu-rays, if it's a new movie, I'm just going to go 4K now because everything's going to be 4K soon. It's going to be 8K and whatnot. So, but yeah, like going into this movie, I've never seen, so I have the Blu-ray, like monster movies, like the old ones. Yeah. Invisible Man and The Mummy are the only two on here I haven't seen yet. And Phantom of the Opera. But I've seen all the other ones. So I will review this original one later in the month, but I didn't really, all I knew is like the original was like he more had like a potion or something. He was like a scientist and
there's some sort of chemicals.
Yeah
My actual introduction to the Invisible Man is and if I've done a little podcast here or there that I've talked about my love for The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. And most people don't find it a good movie, but it's basically it's an Alan Moore story adapted, and it takes all these kind of literary creatures and characters, and the Invisible Man was one of them. And in that one, he's kind of like a smarmy thief. Basically, he's like a smarmy asshole kind of guy, and I always liked that interpretation. And so when this movie was announced and it was kind of determined that the Invisible Man was going to be a bad guy, I went into this movie very hesitant against it. Like I was like, man, I kind of wanted him to be like the hero. I wanted it to be like maybe like a bank robber story or something. Like I don't know about this whole like Me Too angle that they're doing on this story. And then I watched the movie.
Yeah, going back to League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, I feel like a lot of people hate on that movie like they do with Van Helsing. Like, just put it aside. Both movies are so fun.
Van Helsing. I love Van Helsing.
I'm not sure if Universal, did they do League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, or is that?
I do believe that it should have been, because like with the monster, because they used the monsters, right? I think they used Universal monsters. So
yeah, they had Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. Yeah. I think the Invisible Man, he wasn't even the one that created the potion.
No, it wasn't him.
Right?
He stole the potion. They couldn't. That I know for sure. They couldn't get the actual rights to the H.G. Wells stories, so they like made him somebody who stole They literally stole the story by making it a thief that stole the potion, which is like brazen but ballsy. I love it.
I mean, we can go to spoilers in this review. Maybe we'll do the end of the movie at the end of this review. But I love how they went with a suit, like a technological suit with all cameras, and like the sound adds to the effects. Like I remember watching it the first time, I didn't really notice like the little sound where she like looks,
all the shutter clicks in the camera, the irises and stuff. Like I'm a photographer. I've been doing photography for over a decade. So like hearing all those little click, like the whirs and buzzes and all that kind of stuff, like it's stuff that I've heard before, but like hearing that layered on top of each other and like hundreds of them, thousands of them clicking and moving, and it's very creepy. There's like there's a phobia that some people have of like hold things, right? Like things with a lot of little holes in them. And I can only imagine what they would have thought when they saw the suit reveal for the first time.
Yeah. Like, I just fished my text because I had the logo that said Wilhelm instead of Wilhelm. So whoops. But yeah, like it's so cool and it looks really creepy. Like I don't know what that phobia is. There's like a phobia like pores like in skin.
That's what I said. Like little hold things, right? Like
Yeah,
things with lots of holes.
It's so I don't know, and like when you see it, like whether it's in the bright light or in the darkness, it has different looks to it, but it still works. I mean, the CGI is a little like on the cheaper side, but it's not terrible.
I noticed it this time. I honestly didn't notice that the first few times, but I noticed it this time because I was just watching a further review, right? So like I was more intent on picking it apart a little bit. And I did notice that near the end, it seemed like the big fight, like the CGI, it's like, yeah, they didn't have too much money left to work with, but it all works because it's a great low budget movie. Like, I mean, they made Australia look like San Francisco with a couple establishing shots. So
yeah, like,
yeah.
I feel like since Universal's going to go back and redo all these Universal horror monsters,
and they're giving Lee Winnell another crack at it too.
I think they should just keep it low budget, and then if they want to, make bigger or save the budget for the CGI alone, but go with practical, please. Like that was the one thing I liked about the Wolfman, the Benicio del Toro one, was when they had practical effects, it looked great. It was the transitions that were like, oh, those did not look great.
I remember seeing that when it came out, basically. I haven't watched it again recently, but I do remember enjoying that one. But yeah, so we start this. I love the sound design in this movie. Like this is how a Chris Nolan film should sound. Like Benjamin Wallfish should be working on Chris Nolan films, not Hans Zimmer no more. Like it just it's like a suffocating sound. Right, like there's a suffocating soundscape to it until you get to these really tense moments where they cut everything out, and it's just you get this really intense moment where she kicks a dog bowl, and it's like everybody's done that. Everybody's done that in the middle of the night, trying not to wake somebody up. But like the stakes here are so much higher than anywhere else.
Yeah, and I think even going just to the dog itself, like. There's so many parts of this movie where like you see the dog and you think, oh shit, the dog's gonna bark. Like, and then like even rewatching it the second time, I forgot what happened when she sees the dog. Like, oh, he's taking the shock collar off. So is now the dog gonna bark? Like, there's so many little details that you don't really notice maybe the first time through, but going back, you're like, it adds so much more. I don't know, just more stakes to it. And it's funny like when you said Christopher Nolan, but like. I don't remember what the sound effect was, but it was like not the blah, but something like that. But it fit the movie, and it's like it wasn't overused as well. It's
a little more tame. Like Wallfish did the Blade Runner 2049 score with Hans Zimmer, and I think that is like the perfect kind of like middle ground in between those two. But starting with these first few scenes, there's another thing that becomes like a staple through this entire movie that I love is the negative space. Like we don't see negative space used a lot in movies, and especially with this being a horror movie and with it being the Invisible Man, like the dread you get when you see a frame of a shot that you know that there's supposed to be two people in that frame. It's like, is there two people? There could be. Like at any moment, there's no telling that she's alone, and it feeds into this paranoia that is crazy good about this film.
Yeah, I feel like that even adds the low budgetness. Is like they don't need CGI.
They don't need nothing.
Turn the camera like, boop, and then just keep it there for a little bit. You're like, is something there? Is she going crazy? Is it behind her? Not where she's looking? Like you don't know. And I forgot like when she like is in the kitchen, then she leaves, and then you see like the fire go up. But like if you're really paying attention, you can see the knife goes away too, and it's like, oh
Flips
shit,
it off the counter.
Like those little things. And I mean, I need to rewatch like the special features because I want to see when she's fighting on the ground. I'm sure they use someone in like a green suit.
It's a dude in a green suit. I've seen. I saw it a couple of weeks ago. I think it was just floating around on Twitter, and I think it's Elizabeth Moss actually doing those scenes, like those stunts for it. Like I think she doesn't jump down from the attic later, but like she does a lot of her own stunts in the movie, it seems. And it was like, yeah, it's a guy in a green suit for some of them, and then it's just her for some of the other things. So they shot plates basically.
Yeah,
But that works really well.
Oh yeah. Before we get into Elizabeth Moss, I
Mhm.
just wanted to like talk about him in general. Like I almost feel like he's like semi superhuman with how strong he is. Like he beats the shit out of people, and like he flipped over that heavy ass table like it was nothing.
That's true. Maybe it's the suit, like maybe it's also like a little bit of the suit, right? And we do know that it's two people. We don't know if we know for sure that at some time there are 1 and 1. Like there's either they're using one suit or he has more than another, not more than 2, right? Like we already know that there's 2, but he could have 3 for all we know. And they could be both in the same location at the same time.
Yeah.
Like I haven't thought about that until this rewatch. Is like there could be 2 of them at the same location, which could account for some of that superhumanness as well. But that was the other thing is when you figure out that there's 2 of them, right? Like when there's when it's like not only is there possibly an Invisible Man, there's 2 of them that could be literally anywhere at any time.
Yeah, and even when his brother's like, "Oh yeah, he's over there in that urn," he's like, "He's not in the urn. He's standing in front of it." Like shit.
It's like, or he's like sitting right across the table. Like where could he be, right? And that's another thing is like because it lets your mind fill that gap, right? Like what is he doing? How is he doing it, right? And go ahead.
It doesn't over explain things, which I like. Like they don't go too much in technology. Like it uses the cameras from the back and records it and projects it in the front. Like no, it's not like
it's done visually.
Yeah, it's not like the new Spider-Man where they're like they kind of go a little bit into too much into the drones. Like it's just enough. Like, okay, leave it alone. We can figure it out on our own. Maybe there are 2 people in one scene. We don't know. I feel like that could have been a big mistake if they overly explained things, which I'm glad they didn't. I forget the actor's name who plays Oliver
Jackson Cohen. Yeah, he's really good. He's in The Haunting of Hill House as well. He plays one of the young brothers.
He looked familiar.
Yeah. And I think he's going to be in Bly Manor as well. But he is scary in this movie. Like he's really good at that like seething angry guy, and it's like especially when he punches a window out of a fucking car at the beginning of this movie, it's like that is some serious anger.
And not just that, but like he's a narcissistic sociopath who just gaslights her over and over and over again. Even at the end, he's like, "I didn't do anything." It's like, shit, is she gonna fall for it? No. Oh, it's just awful. I don't know. Like it really takes the tone of what's happening culturally and puts it where it's not too much in your face. It's just enough you're understanding. And I'm glad they didn't try and like give him some mental illness, like a reason why he's doing this. He's just a piece of shit. Like
he's just a fuckface.
And I mean, I haven't seen too much of Elizabeth Moss's films. Like the first one I ever saw was Get Him to the Greek. I don't know if that was her first one, but
shit. Yeah.
And then I hated her in that movie, but that's because the character. And then what was the other one? Oh, Us. Like she's really good in Us. Just like that mirror scene where she's like putting on the makeup and like laughing, and I feel like that just comes even more here where you see so much like trauma in her, even when she's just like staring at the wall and like staring at the camera. Like she looks like she's been crying for months and months and months.
From the first viewing, I had this she is the master at the subtle expression. Like she can barely the barest movement of her lips and her eyes, she can do it, but it'll change her entire expression on her face, and the camera will just be on her, and like you can just leave it on her and she'll like the shit out of saying nothing and just looking at the camera. And it was amazing the first time, and it's still amazing every single time after. It's to me, I don't know if we bring personal stuff into it, but it's weird that she's in so many like culty get out of abusive relationship films when she's a Scientologist. It's strange. It's just a strange note, right? Like it's just weird. Like anyway, we can move past that.
I don't understand that either. I just like I try and leave that out when I'm watching a movie. Like I'm gonna leave politics out of this unless they like murdered someone like crazy or like really sexually assaulted someone. But if it's But like shit like that, it's like it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But like you really get this. I feel like she only heightens the sense of fear in this movie
Mhm.
for like the viewer. Like just how afraid she is. Like you become paranoid, and maybe even after, like if you're a paranoid person leaving this movie, you're like looking in your house like shit. There could be something.
This hits
like,
on one of my biggest fears. This hits on it's one of my like normal like scary horror movies don't bother me. Shit like people think you're crazy when you know you're right. Like no, you're gonna get locked into a mental asylum because we think you're crazy because you're seeing somebody that's not there. It's like that's scary. Like that's like legit existential horror shit.
Yeah,
And it is dreadful in this movie and it's great.
that's the same. Like that's one of my fears. That and something you can't get away from. So like It Follows. That kind of
Yeah.
puts both together where you're just like, what would I do? You're just gonna keep running for the rest of your life. And I mean, that could kind of work in this, where she could just keep driving and driving, and hopefully he's not in the car, which that's terrifying on its own.
Well, he destroys her support system too, which we haven't really talked about. But I love the actors in this movie, especially since we know that Aldous Hodge is going to be Hawkman, which is gonna be fucking sweet. And he is great. Well, rewatching this, he is so good. He's so good in this movie. Like he's just a cool dad, and he's got this swagger. And then all of a sudden, he thinks that his daughter's in danger, and he does what he
Turns.
needs to do.
Yep.
He does what he needs to do, and it's scary. And Storm Reed, I didn't realize that it was the same girl from Doctor Sleep for the first time I saw it. Like I didn't realize it was the same because it's the young girl from Doctor Sleep.
Wow.
Yeah, so like I was like, oh shit, she had a good couple of movies because she's real good in this movie too.
Yeah. Yeah, like I mean, going back to Adrian, the Invisible Man,
Right.
like he knows exactly what to do.
No, I
like-
was wrong.
It's
Kaylee
not.
Curran. Nope, I was wrong.
Okay.
That's not bad.
No, what is she from though?
She was in A Wrinkle in Time for sure.
Ah, yeah, yes. I
I
haven't
know
seen
she
the
was
movie,
in A
but
Wrinkle in Time. Was she in something else though?
she is gonna be in the Suicide Squad. I don't know.
Oh,
if she's
wow.
playing.
Wow.
But yeah, it's
She's
just
great.
scary how much Adrian knows, like exactly what to do to push everyone away and bring her back to him. Like,
Oh, that email to her sister, right? Like just stuff like that. Like that scene too, like that happens in the restaurant scene is another one of those like it's so gut wrenching. It's so like, oh my God.
and that's another like great performance by Elizabeth Moss. Is like she just like and like
She
starts
doesn't say
crying when
anything.
she's not moving. 'Cause she's like, "Fuck, I'm fucked. There's nothing I can do right now." And not just that, but like I lost my sister. My sister's
Yeah.
dead.
Yeah. The only one that believes me right now. Yeah.
Yeah, so the James and Sydney character, the family that she stays with, I love when like they had like the celebratory like, oh, I'm putting money in your college, and they're all like, oh, we got champagne. He's like, I don't know why you're dancing. You're not gonna get it. Like that little. There's not too much happiness in this movie, but
Yeah.
I feel like that it kind of eases you a little bit. Like, okay, there's nothing
Yeah,
that's
that
gonna happen right here.
First like 30 minutes of the movie is like this really tension build from the first escape scene, but then you're relaxing because like he's dead and like, oh, okay, everything's nice and it's good, and then the slow trickle of somebody looking over my shoulder and that pill bottle, I thought I dropped that when I was escaping and shit like that. It's like, and then just off the rails.
And this totally could have been way more jump scares. I think there's maybe 3 in here, which they're done well. Like the attic one is my favorite by far.
I wouldn't really even call that a jump scare, right? Like, because it's building to it, right? It's not like jump scares. I find like it's hard because everybody's got their own definition, right? Really, of a jump scare, right? Like jump scares for me are kind of out of nowhere, right? Like if something comes out of nowhere, it's like they were building to the like he looks down and it's like, oh man, is it right there? And you throw it on, you see it, and that's a scare. That's a full on scare for me. But I can see I can definitely see that.
And the music added, just like that one, like or whatever the sound effect was, just adds even more to it. But it was so cool because like you don't really see the suit before that, and then you're like, why is it all like hexagon-y. Like, what? It looks so weird. And then you find out later on, but I love it. Like, you hear that, and then he falls, and you hear him scrambling, like he's slipping in the paint, trying to get out of the door. It's like, oh man. I love that they didn't go too much. It's way more of a psychological thriller than anything.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
it's definitely scary, but it's intense, and it's more focusing on the like mental aspects of like a terrible relationship.
Well, yeah,
Yeah, it's
extremely abusive, and yeah, and like later on, he basically tries to blackmail her with her body and a baby that she's carrying. Basically, it's like it's not your traditional horror, but it is fucked up. Like
oh yeah.
it is so messed up, and it's effective. It is very effective.
I think that's just a strength towards it is there's so much stuff they could have shown, but they didn't, and I think that's it benefited from it.
Yeah.
Because if they showed more of that, more of the abuse and
Yeah.
whatnot, it would have gotten a bad rap for sure. But also, like, we don't really need to see that. Like,
Yeah.
it's not like Evil Dead where you need to see it because it's the most evil thing, so it's gonna show a tree doing something. While this, you don't need to see it. Like, it's fine. It could be in the back. It's mentioned, whatever.
It is very slightly hinted, and if there is a trigger warning, it's very slightly hinted that there's a sexual assault history in the relationship too, right? Like, but they don't outright say it, right? Like
Mhm.
it's a line that's like, and other things, like that's all, but that's all you need, right? You don't at a point it becomes too much or gratuitous or unnecessary that it's distracting. And I think this movie hits it on the head. It hits it perfectly.
Yeah, and like going back to the CG, the suit might look weird in some parts, but still good. But like all the floating objects, like a gun or like just the person getting hit, that looks so well done. And like, I think the scariest part was when she gets out of her cell and like he starts killing everyone. And I'm like, shit, like another security guard or like 10 are gonna come and they're gonna see that she just murdered 10 people, 10 security guards. Like, thankfully she gets out and whatnot, but oh my god.
Yeah, that hallway. I love that he's like Lee Winnell's like, okay, I saw Daredevil. I need to have my own hallway fight scene, and and it was great. Love the trick that he used from Upgrade. I love that camera shot, and they use it earlier in
Oh
the
yeah,
film
yeah,
too.
yeah.
Where they lock it on the POV shot. They lock it on. They drop him down, and it's just a neat way to like disorient the viewer, right? Like it's a good way to put you in the shoes of the person there. And yeah, that hallway scene was brutal. It was a good show. It was a good show, and it's of what he was able to do, like, and how he was actually a dangerous person, not just to her, right, but to pretty much everybody.
Yeah. Before we get into like our final thoughts and like our rating, what do you think the Invisible Woman movie is going to be about? You know how Elizabeth Banks is doing this movie. I think she's starring in it too.
Yeah, I was like, is it actually related? Like, I'm not sure if it's in the same universe. I really don't know. Maybe Elizabeth Banks works at the company, right? And maybe she hears about like him dying, and she knows like he was also a douchebag, so maybe he was cheating on his girlfriend with her, right? Like maybe that's that kind of thing. But I think it'll be more comedy, honestly, with Elizabeth Banks. Like it'll be a little bit more. I think that's where they do like the heist thing or something like that, right? Like they do something like that. I just honestly don't know, like, because I just don't know what tone they're going for. I don't know if it's connected.
I believe she's also doing like a Bride of Frankenstein remake, or
Oh, really?
she's doing like two Universal Monster, which is,
Oh, wow.
I mean, it's exciting that like they're starting to get back into these, because I never saw the new Mummy. I heard it was awful. I kind of
Yep,
want to
I've
watch it just to like see how bad it is.
It's like one of the only Tom Cruise films I haven't seen.
So yeah, like maybe I might review that later in the month as well. But I'm excited to see not just Invisible Man, but where all these Universal Monster movies are going. Like, because they started a whole new thing. Like, there was thrillers and like things before these movies, but I feel like they're classic for a reason, and they've been tried and tried again. Sometimes if they change it enough, it's fun. Like the Brendan Fraser Mummy. Not a lot of people love that movie, but it's so much fun. It's silly. My girlfriend, she loves that movie. She loves Brendan Fraser. We actually just watched George of the Jungle the other day, and I was like, wow, I haven't seen this movie in forever.
Classic kids movie. I haven't seen it in a long time.
But yeah, like,
But I'm also excited for Lee Winnell's Wolfman because he has Wolfman coming. Even if he stole my idea for Ryan Gosling as Wolfman, because we talked about that a few months and months ago. It's like you had an idea for like a Wolfman script, and it's like, and then that sparked my idea for one, and it's like, oh yeah, what if Ryan Gosling was the Wolfman? And then like 2 months later, the announcement comes. It's like, hey, that was my idea.
who did they originally cast for the original like connected universe? Did they cast the Wolfman, or was it just the Mummy, Invisible Man, and
Johnny Depp was in there, wasn't he?
I think Johnny Depp was the Invisible Man.
Yeah, Johnny Depp was the Invisible Man. Was it Benicio del Toro? Benicio del Toro was Frankenstein, right? Frankenstein's monster.
No,
Javier Bardem.
Yes.
Because Benicio played the Wolfman in the old Wolfman.
Let's see. Yeah, they didn't cast. Looks like, because I'm just seeing in the picture, it's Tom Cruise, Russell Crowe,
yeah,
and Johnny Depp.
Yeah,
I feel like Johnny Depp could have done this role if they did this movie. It could have been really well, but they would want to use him a lot more in the movie. I feel like
with his personal issues, I can see why he wouldn't want to take the role like this right now.
Yeah. Like they would have, like, for his personal reasons and like just for not like a backlash from the audience, they would have to change the plot totally. They would make him more of a thief, like you were wanting.
Yeah. I think I'd be excited for an Elizabeth if that's what they're doing with the Elizabeth Banks one. If they go a little bit more in the lighter side, right? Like because they have this darker side, then I think I'll be excited for that one too. Like I haven't seen too many of the thing. I haven't seen Charlie's Angels. I don't think I've seen, and I haven't seen the Pitch Perfect movie. She did 2 of them. I don't know.
I know she's in them. I don't know if she directed them.
I thought she directed one of them, but yeah. But I love that Universal monster picture because it's like they're all like none of them were there. They're all photoshopped into that picture. Russell Crowe's not holding his cane.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I really hope. I'm sad. Like, because of COVID and everything, all these things are getting delayed. And I don't know if you know, it's called the Epic Universe theme park that they're building. It's the 3rd Universal park in Orlando. It was supposed to have a Universal Monsters section. So the main thing, instead of like the Cinderella castle, it was supposed to be Frankenstein or Dracula's castle. And then
no way.
Yeah, so there's a map of it you can see now, and so there's a water section. So it's supposed to be a water theme ride. So like, okay, that's gonna be a creature ride. There's probably gonna be a dark ride that's either Frankenstein's monster or Dracula. There's supposed to be like a special effects show, and then another part was the Nintendo Land was the other one, and then How to Train Your Dragon was gonna have their own world as well.
So that bring Nintendo Land to Orlando. Holy shit! Yeah. Oh my god!
So that was they were supposed to start, I think, this summer, starting building it, and I think 2026 is when it was supposed to open. So now it's gonna be delayed a year, however long this shit goes for.
Yep.
But yeah, it's sad that like COVID is delaying not just like theme parks, but I mean, aside from everything it's doing population wise and political wise,
aside from all the obvious things that we hate about it, it just sucks that our entertainment is going with it as well.
We don't need to talk about any of that shit, but like entertainment, which was supposed to take us away from all the bullshit in the real life. Now we're not even getting that, so we're getting we're getting remakes through Zoom calls and shit like that. So
just release them on VOD, please. Please, just do it. You'll make the money worldwide. You don't share it with the theaters. Just please, just give me my movies. They're finished. They're just sitting there finished, waiting for people to watch them. Please.
That's my last. Is Dune even gonna come out this year? Is this gonna delay till next Christmas?
Don't put that bad juju out there. I think with WB, with what they did with Tenet, I think that if everybody else starts moving off of December, they keep Dune there because they'll again be the only one there. Whether or not they make a lot or a little, they'll still make whatever's there, right? Like they'll be the only ones there. right? I think hopefully I just want to fucking see Dune.
Just have it in the theater for a month, and if not, everything's open, then do video on demand. Like, because more people are getting bigger TVs in their homes as well, and I'm sure people are stocking up with their unemployment and whatever to like they're instead of saving it, they're just like, okay, we're gonna get a bigger TV, we're gonna get a surround sound, or you got like nerds like us that have headphones so we can watch on our computer, our 4K monitors. Just like, oh, we're in the this is better than the theater. Yeah. We can pause it whenever.
Headphones, yeah.
But yeah, going back to Invisible Man, I can't really see any negatives about this movie. I think it's paced well. I mean, it's 2 hours. I thought it was like an hour and a half when.
Yeah, I was surprised when I was re-looking it up and it was 2 hours.
But it goes by pretty well. You don't need a big cast for this. It's a small, enclosed. I feel like if this is like the MCU, this is the Ant-Man. It's a small, like, not just size-wise, because Ant-Man can get small, but it's in one location. It doesn't move too much. It focuses on a few characters. It's not the star, because people don't really care about Invisible Man. They want Dracula. They want Frankenstein monster or Wolfman. People are like, Invisible Man? Like, what? Like Hollow Man? Which we didn't even talk about that movie.
Oh, yeah.
That movie. We're talking about sexual assault. That movie's pretty bad. But yeah, I can't really see any negatives out of it. I wouldn't give it a perfect score, but I want to say 4.5 out of 5 for me.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of contrivances, like when she goes to unlock the door, she's like, oh, the date we met, how romantic. It's just like a couple like movie things right here or there, right? That it's like a little bit like you need, like you feel as a screenwriter you almost need to put those in. Like we write scripts, right? Like, and it feels like you almost need to put some cliches in there, right? Like so the audience connects with things, right? So it's hard to ding somebody on putting a cliche or two in there. But I agree. I think that it's really hard to poke holes in this one. Yeah, I don't know if I can give it a perfect score, but yeah, I'd say 4.5 out of 5 stars.
Yeah, it's definitely the like. This decade's, it's going to be a classic regarded within 30 years from now. It's not, It didn't break any boundaries, but it did everything right and gave people ideas for the future. Like, okay, maybe we don't need a big 30 or $300 million movie to make it successful. Like, what was the budget on this? 30, maybe 20?
Yeah, something like that. Something crazy small.
Let me see real quick. This one had budget. $7 million? What?
Holy Jesus! Yep, 7 million USD.
And
that
it
is
made 134 worldwide.
And it got cut off, like we said, and it got cut off like 2 weeks into its run. So it got its opening weekend run on that. Man,
I mean,
that's crazy.
But Universal, I think Universal is just taking over as far as horror. Like there's A24 is always going to be there, but as far as like movies that everyone's going to see, Universal's coming back. Like Us was $20 million to make, and that's nothing. They made it 175, but I think not just because of Universal Horror Nights, but I feel like they're trying to grab all the properties. Like if anything's going to happen, I feel like Universal is going to buy Friday the 13th rights once all that stuff is done. Like they have to, and then. Because it's still under a New Line, maybe with I don't even know who owns New Line now.
I think there's a claim with like the original screenwriter. Like it's like there's a original screenwriter claim, and then like the original production company claim, and then that original production company I think got folded into New Line. But I think New Line is under Umbrella though. Like I think New Line belongs to somebody else too. I think Warner.
Let me see. New Line. See, this is why we're here. We're not just talking about movies. We're talking about all the nerdy stuff. Yeah, Warner Brothers. Okay. Because Warner Brothers owns Nightmare on Elm Street as well.
And they've got the Stephen King stuff. Lots of the Stephen King stuff. It and stuff like that.
I mean, they can just keep going off of original stuff like Jordan Peele. Just keep making your own things. Everyone's going to watch it. I mean, I feel like his movies will do successful if it's just his name on there. Like, I feel like that's partially why a lot of people wanted to watch Twilight Zone was because he was somehow connected to it. I think he was he producing it?
I think he's a showrunner. Yeah, he was like the showrunner. But like, man, I watched like 2 episodes of that. I couldn't watch anymore. I did not find it very good at all.
Yeah,
It felt like in like the way I keep saying, like, okay, we need to like take the best parts of them acting in the 60s and bring that to nowadays. They did the opposite. They took like it's like they shot it like it was in the 60s, but like with new technology. And it's like, I don't know about that.
I mean, I don't know how to describe it, but it felt very CBS network television. It
Yeah.
wasn't. It
Yeah.
wasn't like Black Mirror. It was just like
Hmm.
this seems too TV-y.
I need to catch up on Black Mirror, but yeah, Black Mirror is Twilight Zone for the new age. Yeah.
Pretty much, just everything's technology. Like technology, it's gonna ruin your life. Watch it. Watch it. But that's it for this review. We've covered a lot, even more than just Invisible Man, but I really like this movie. If you guys haven't seen this movie, we spoiled a lot of it, but just go watch
It's still
it
worth
anyway.
it. It's
Yeah.
still worth it. If you haven't seen the movie by now and you're watching something like this, then you're probably like me, where it's like if you need spoilers to decide a movie. If you haven't seen a movie that it's been out for like a year or two, the spoilers are only ever going to help you watch a movie. I feel like, so go search out movies that you don't think you maybe want to watch. Read the plot synopsis and then watch the movie, because it's an experience, right? Like it's something that you need to
For
see.
sure.
Yeah.
I mean, you can watch this on a little TV, big TV, it doesn't matter. Just make sure you're watching, paying attention, turn the lights off. I mean, Halloween's coming up. Do it. Thanks for you guys for listening, and we'll see you next time.